You know, it's better than the Zastava USA M72, a suppressed Zastava M72. We're going to be talking about not only the Zastava ZVUK 762 suppressor, but also the M72 coming up in this video. Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for swinging by. I sure do appreciate it. If this is your first time with the channel, my name is Mark.
Oh, hi Mark.
Welcome to Fit and Fire. Let's get into this video. This time we're going to be talking about, as mentioned, the Zastava USA M72. This is very much like an RPK, but not an RPK, and we'll kind of explain some of the differences, but also the new ZVUK from Zastava USA as well. This is actually a very interesting can, and I thought that I would kind of pair these up for you guys to see kind of what it was like and kind of give my initial thoughts as to what's going on with this and go from there. Now, naturally, I'm not getting paid to say anything good, bad, or indifferent when it comes to any of the products that I review. This was sent to me by Zastava USA, and I just thought I'd talk about the good with the bad and let you guys decide whether or not this is going to be right for you. This has been a firearm that I have wanted in my collection for a very, very long time. Very much like regardless if that was like a Romanian RPK or the M72. Now, I'm a big fan of Zastava, and I have ran a number of different firearms, not only the M70, the M92, the M85, but my favorite is the M90. I have been running that in competition for years at this point, and it has done me very, very well. Will this get out to a competition? Maybe. I'll try to get it out to it, but to be frankly honest with you, I'm getting late in the year and there's a lot of different products and projects rather to talk about. So I don't know if I'll be able to get this out to a competition, but I think that would be pretty fun. Not only to fling this thing around, but also shoot it suppressed and all those different types of things. So, you know, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But let's get into it. Okay, so you may or may not know that the Yugoslavians never did have a data package from the Soviet Union to create an AK-style firearm. So what essentially they ended up doing was borrowing or acquiring, I guess that's probably the better word to use, acquired some AK-47s from several different countries and then ended up building their own. They started off with the M70. There's a couple of different variations prior to that with milled receivers, but essentially the M70 became the go-to, the baseline of rifles for the Yugoslavians, later the Serbians, so on and so forth. But the M70 provided the Yugoslavians a really good baseline to then develop other types of firearms off of that platform. And what do I mean by that? Well, first and foremost, the M70 or the M70AB2 had a bulged front trunnion. They did that specifically so that they could launch rifle grenades. In addition to that, to kind of help with rigidity, the receiver was a 1.5 millimeter receiver. That is very easy to then go up from there to create something like an RPK. Now, again, this is not necessarily a one-for-one match for the RPK, but you already had that bulge front trunnion up front. You've got a thicker receiver that can withstand high rates of fire. So all you really needed to do is add a longer barrel and come up with a different set of furniture for it, and there you go. That's basically how the M72 came about. Now, this is just a 100,000 foot overview. There's a lot of intricacies as to the development of the M72, but basically that's how it came to be, at least from my perspective. I know I might be missing a few things, and if I am, let me know down in the comment section down below. As far as Zastava rifles, this almost completes my collection. I need one more to complete the baseline rifles, and that's going to be the M77. From there, I tell you, M91, that would be pretty cool to have as well, but that may be something in the future. I don't know. But let's get back to this. So let's talk about exactly what's going on with it. Again, the core of the rifle is going to be nearly identical to the M70. Bulge front trunnion, 1.5 millimeter receiver. Trigger group is going to be exactly the same. You're going to have the push button takedown for the top cover, so on and so forth, exactly what you would expect. Where it differs is going to be in the front half, sporting a 21 inch or 21.7, I think, inch, basically longer barrel that is going to be chrome line and cold hammer forged. It then is also going to have these fins here in front of the handguard that is going to help mitigate heat and disperse heat as quickly as possible, especially for those high rates of fire. One of the ways that this differs from the traditional like Russian RPK is that this barrel is basically a heavy barrel all the way through, where the RPK would step down right about here. It would be thick barrel and then step down as it gets closer to the front sight. Now, typically the M72 is just going to have a standard slant brake up front, but what I have done is I've switched it out for the JMac Customs RD360 taper mount is what it's called. And the taper mount is going to be something that can interface very well with the Plan B setup. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. On the front post, this is actually something that I find fairly interesting. The front post does have their flip-up night sight that you would expect to see like on an M70 82. And I've talked about that. If you guys haven't seen that video, I'll leave a card right up here for you guys to check that out. But really cool parts kit that Zastava has started pulling together. The handguards here are going to be very much different from your standard M70, very short. Normally the handguards will go a lot further out, but these are a lot shorter. And one of the main reasons is realistically, you just need something to hold on to right here, because as you're shooting from the prone, you're going to be tucking your arm in behind your buttstock for stability. And that's basically how machine gunners do it. The rear sight is going to be almost identical to an RPK sight. There's going to be some minor differences. What I've experienced is way back in the day when I had my first Wasser, I had an RH10. It had one of the RPK style sights, but the graduation could never go down to the Battle Zero because of the windage adjustment was blocking that. So you had to leave it at the 100 meter adjustment. This is actually pretty decent, and I think that they did a really good job of paying attention to that and making sure that you had the ability to move all the way back to your Battle Zero point and still be able to utilize the windage function here. Essentially, all you got to do is pull out and move back and forth, and that is going to adjust your rear sight left and right, again, for windage. I've been using a lot of different magazines with this, some of the Magpul stuff, and then the Bakelites as well. Got a standard Bakelite and one of the long boys that you'll see in the B-roll footage, along with one of the big circle ones as well, if you know what I mean. But needless to say, I've had no issues with any of the Zastava rifles as far as magazine compatibility. Except for like the M85 and M90, it can be a little finicky. It depends on which magazine that you're looking at. Sometimes you may have to hand fit those. So that pretty much does a good once over as to the M72. Let's talk about everything that's going on with the ZVUK. All right, before we get into talking about the suppressor in depth, I do want to stop and take a look at the RD360 from JMac Customs. This is, like I mentioned, their taper mount design to interface with the Plan B setup. And that's something that I really did like about Zastava in how they designed their ZVUK suppressor, is that it's hub compatible. So if you want to run chemo or Plan B or some of the other interfaces, you can absolutely do that. One of the other great things that I do like about the RD360 is it does a great job at mitigating recoil. I've used them on the M90 in competition and absolutely love it. But that's where I wanted to start off with it and then get into the ZVUK right now. Okay, so this was announced earlier this year at SHOT Show, and again, if you guys are not following me, I'd really appreciate you subscribing to the channel, because SHOT Show is going to be just right around the corner here, and I'm always checking out the AK manufacturers. Zastava USA is always going to be on the list to check out as well. So they showed me this at SHOT Show 2025, and I was very, very interested, because not only is this something that is very close to the Dead Air Wolverine, but they have done something that not too many other companies are doing as of yet. I think that we will start seeing more and more companies do it in the future, but this is not only titanium, but it's 3D printed. And I'm sure that you guys seen videos from like Clayco 47 or some other people out there, but realistically, I also wanted to talk about my experience with this so far, because I've ran it on more than just the M72. I've also ran it on the M85 and just standard AKs as well, so you'll be able to see those in the B-roll. Now, really, what makes this more special than other suppressors out there? Well, first and foremost, it is titanium, so it's going to be exceptionally light, coming in, I believe, right around that 13.4 ounces, so less than a pound, which is going to help save a lot of weight for individuals who are looking to build out some type of AK or even AR, because this is rated for 30 cal down. So you can feasibly run this on an AR, you can run this on the M92, you can run it on the M85, it doesn't matter, you can run all of these. In addition to that, they are using the PIP technology, or the purposely induced porosity technology, that, as you can see in some of the close-ups, it looks like there are a whole bunch of holes in here, and what that does is then create a very low back pressure can that is also fairly quiet as well. So weight savings, low back pressure, usable from 30 cal down, that is a recipe that I think is going to be very, very interesting when it comes to this particular can, and as we see that technology move on into the future. Now, one of the downsides to titanium cans is going to be the heat mitigation. It's a downside, but there's also an upside to it as well. These will get hot very, very quick. That's just the nature of the beast when it comes to titanium suppressors. However, the flip side of that coin is that these suppressors will cool off faster than a standard steel or Inconel or some of the other materials that are out there that are being used for suppressors. So that's something that I also do like, but also understand you have to be careful, because these will heat up very, very quickly. All right, so one of the things I wanted to do was go ahead and fire a few rounds without hearing protection on, just to kind of give you a basis of where I think this is going to set up. And so here we go. So definitely a crack, hearing more of the action than anything when it comes to this, and it's not too bad. Actually, it's not too bad at all. I think that there are other cans that might perform a little bit better, but at the end of the day, I think that this is going to do exactly what you guys are looking for. So a few more rounds here. It's actually getting a little bit better to my ear, maybe because my ears are adjusting to the sound, but yeah. Not too bad. Let's see if we can get the gong. It's kind of tilted one direction, but there you go. So obviously the sound hitting the steel target is going to be louder than what I'm hearing at my ear. All right, so let's talk about brass tacks. What are you expecting to spend to pick up one of these? As mentioned, this had to be in my collection because I'm trying to collect them all, as I said before. But you should expect somewhere around that $1,500 to $1,600 mark to pick one of these up. And that does sound fairly expensive, but here in 2025, man, your dollar just does not go as far as it used to, that's for sure. If you are interested in getting an RPK style firearm, let's compare this to something like the AES M72. That's the Romanian version, which is going to be a little bit closer to a standard Russian or Soviet RPK. Those are typically coming in somewhere around that $1,800 to $1,900 mark. So you are actually saving a few $100s by picking one of these up instead of the Romanians. However, I do understand that there are some people that just prefer the Soviet setup more so than the Yugo setup. I understand that. I get it. B, there are people that just don't like Zastava, and I get it. I understand. It's not for you. You've got complaints. You've listened to the interwebs. They've told you a whole bunch of different things that may or may not be true. But I can tell you that this is now the 5th firearm that I have in my collection from Zastava, from the M70, the M85, the M92, the M90, now the M72. And I have never had any issues, especially putting the M90 through so much torture in all the different competitions that I've been in. That thing has ran very, very well, and so have all of my other firearms. So, while I do know there are naysayers out there, for me, Zastava is one of my favorite manufacturers. I like the Yugo patterns because they're different. Obviously, they had to pretty much give a big FU to the Soviet Union since they weren't sharing their data pack and developed their own. And when they did so, they came up with something that I thought was very, very interesting. So to see that develop from the M70 into the M72 and some of the other different variants, I thought was pretty cool. And that's why I got to get them all. All right, thanks for swinging by. I surely do appreciate it. Check out the pinned comment for not only some really cool discount codes, but also the Live, Laugh, Larp podcast. That's my podcast with my homeboy Hefe Actual. We are having tons of fun and have some awesome guests. So swing by, check it out. You might enjoy it. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Again, thank you so much for swinging by. I'd love to see what you guys have to say about the M72 and the ZVUK. Where do you guys stand on that? Let me know down in the comment section. We'll talk to you guys later. As always, freedom through strength. Here comes a high five. Bye, y'all.